Hey, how's it going? Wes here. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we will take a final look at our vocabulary lesson called The Cafe, part 3 out of 3. In the previous two parts, we already looked at how to order at a cafe, and we also looked at some of the most popular foods and drinks that are being served in a cafe. So in today's lesson, I want to give you a couple more words and phrases that can be helpful to you around the topic, the cafe. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first word that we will learn in today's lesson, the cafe, part 3 of 3, is the sugar. In Spanish, the sugar is
el azúcar. El azúcar.
And of course, when we talk about the sugar, we also need to know the word for the salt.
La sal. La sal.
And then when we talk about the salt, obviously we also need to talk about the pepper. So the pepper in Spanish is la pimienta.
La pimienta. La pimienta.
And this is obviously the pepper that is being used as seasoning. All right, then the next word is the honey.
La miel. La miel.
Then the next word is one that I think we've already seen before also, which is the ice, which in Spanish is el hielo.
El hielo. El hielo.
So again, as always, I know I keep repeating myself, but the H in hielo is a soft H, so we don't pronounce it. The ice, el hielo. All right, the next word is the olive oil, which is el aceite de oliva. And I know that most of these words we've probably already went over. However, I still wanted to include these words anyways, because if you go to the cafe, these words might be helpful as well. So the olive oil is el aceite de oliva.
El aceite de oliva. El aceite de oliva.
And then, of course, if we were talking about olive oil, we also need to talk about vinegar, because the two go hand in hand. And the word for the vinegar in Spanish is
El vinagre. El vinagre.
the vinegar. All right, so now that we know some of the most important words and phrases that we can use at the cafe, let's try and create some sentences to practice with these words and phrases. So let's look at the first sentence that we can make. So if you want to say, can I have a sandwich with cheese and ham, please? Then in Spanish, you would say something like,
¿Me trae un bocadillo con queso y jamón, por favor? ¿Me trae un bocadillo con queso y jamón, por favor?
and just for the sake of practicing, let's try to break this sentence down so that we understand all the different parts that make up the sentence. So let's start with the first part. Me trae. Now, me trae, if you look at the translation, I'm saying, can I have? But it actually doesn't really mean that. Me trae actually literally translated means, could you bring me? So, could you bring me, me trae, un bocadillo? And we've learned un bocadillo before, which meant a sandwich. So, me trae un bocadillo. Could you bring me a sandwich? Con queso, with con queso, cheese, y jamón, and ham. And of course, por favor is please. So, could you bring me a sandwich? Me trae un bocadillo with cheese and ham, con queso y jamón. Por favor, please. Me trae un bocadillo con queso y jamón, por favor. Can I have a sandwich with cheese and ham, please? Or literally translated, could you bring me a sandwich with cheese and ham, please?
¿Me trae un bocadillo con queso y jamón, por favor? ¿Me trae un bocadillo con queso y jamón, por favor?
All right, let's look at the next sentence.
Me gustaría un café y un croissant, por favor. Me gustaría un café y un croissant, por favor.
I would like a coffee and a croissant, please. So if you break the sentence down, I would like
Me gustaría un café
a coffee
y
and
un croissant,
a croissant,
por favor.
please.
Me gustaría un café y un croissant, por favor.
I would like a coffee and a croissant, please. All right, let's look at two more sentences. So, can I have the salad without rucola? Can I have the salad without rucola?
¿Puedo pedir la ensalada sin rúcula? ¿Puedo pedir la ensalada sin rúcula? ¿Puedo pedir la ensalada sin rúcula?
All right, and then the last sentence. For me, just a beer, please.
Para mí solo una cerveza, por favor. Para mí solo una cerveza, por favor. Para mí solo una cerveza, por favor.
Alright, so now that we've looked at some helpful phrases that we can use to order something in Spanish, and we've looked at how these sentences are being constructed so that we understand how the Spanish language works, I have just 4 more words that I want to teach you before we end this vocabulary lesson. So let's look at the final 4 words. Alright, so now that we have ordered and eaten something at the cafe, it's time to pay. Now, a way to ask if you can pay is simply by saying, to pay please.
Para pagar, por favor. Para pagar, por favor.
Or another way of asking to pay is by saying, the bill please, which in Spanish is,
La cuenta, por favor. La cuenta, por favor.
and then let's say you went for a drink with someone else and you want to pay together, so you can pay together or separately. Then if you want to say that you want to pay for the both of you, then you can say,
Juntos. Juntos.
so to pay together, juntos. Or if the bill is expensive or you don't have any money, then you can also pay separately,
Por separado. Por separado.
which means to pay separately. So to pay, and then you can pay juntos, so to pay together or to pay for the both of you. Or you can choose to pay por separado, which is to pay separately, so just for you only. And then the last word we will learn in this vocabulary lesson, which is obviously the receipt.
El recibo. El recibo.
The receipt. Alright, and that's the end of this vocabulary lesson and also the end of this vocabulary topic called the cafe. So now we know how to order at a cafe, what some of the most popular food and drinks are, and also know what to say if we want to pay and if we want to ask for the receipt. Alright, so that's the end of today's lesson. Now, as always, you can download the reference sheet as a single PDF file. I will not only include this third part, but I will include all the 3 parts of this vocabulary topic called the cafe. I'll put all of them into one single PDF file that you can download and take a look at. Alright, that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Adios.